Welcome back to Chucky Table Media.
Do you love literature? I mean, did you do literature in the school while you were growing up? Are you an avid reader? Do you love to read stories and get connected with the minds of the scholars? If that is so, come closer to me and let us talk about Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who we just lost a couple of days ago. When I mention Ngugi wa Thiong'o, it makes me remember people like Chinua Achebe, people like Wole Soyinka, and more people that are not even in the literary world, that these people help to put their story in a book, they help to publish, to make the African children or the children of the world to know who we are talking about. People like Harap Moi, people like Robert Mugabe. In fact, the Pan-Africanists generally. We're talking about people like Osagevo, Nkrumah. We're talking about Steve Biko. We're talking about Obafemi Awolowo. We're talking about Zeke. People that have the interest of African children or the African people at heart. We talk about Jomo Kenyatta. We talk about Muammar Gaddafi and a whole lots of others that are, in the forefront of African Pan-Africanism. If we need to bring the argument further, we should think about the apartheid period and what people like Olusegun Obasanjo did to make sure that South Africa is liberated from the hands of the colonial masters. So, Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o is dead. And I would really like to bring you closer to the world of Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o. When we were in school, I read most of his novel, and the one I can remember right now is Weep Not Child. Majority of the work of Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o exhibit and bring forward on how the time of colonialism, what really happened at that time, and how the African people should come together and protect themselves and move forward. And that is why Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o is a very, very important person in the history of Africa and the history of the literary world. So, Kenyan literary giant Ngugi wa Thiong'o mourned as a cultural icon. That is the way the African News puts the caption. The literary world is mourning the loss of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the revered Kenyan author, scholar, and activist who passed away in the United States after a prolonged illness at the age of 87. Tributes poured in from fellow writers and publishers who described him as a beacon of African consciousness and unflinching critic of both colonialism and post-independent authoritarianism. Ngugi, a towering figure in African literature, authored dozens of works, from groundbreaking novels like Petals of Blood and The Wizard of the Crow to incisive essays such as Decolonizing the Mind, that challenged not only the legacy of imperialism but also the cultural and linguistic system left in its wake. It touched the heart of the people, said David Mailu, a Kenyan author and publisher. Africans were colonized, and colonialism was not just economic, it was cultural destruction. And for him to talk about that was very impressive. It's like saying he was God sent. Ngugi's work as revolutionary in context as it is known form, a pioneering in promoting African languages in literature. He made a critical shift in the late 70s to write primarily in Gikuyu, arguing that language was central to reclaiming African identity. The decision, along with his outspoken criticism of Kenyan political elite, led to his imprisonment and decades in exile. For younger generation, Ngugi's writing remained a cornerstone of African literature and education. Author Sophia Wawiru recalled an encounter with his book in high school, saying, "He is a living legend, we lost him." he is living through the work of his hands. His impact was also deeply personal and cultural. Abdullahi Bule, a Nairobi-based bookstop holder, reflected on Ngugi's devotion to African heritage. He really loved his culture and his people, and he documented it very well. So besides being a good storyteller, he was also preserving and laying the foundation where Africa must appreciate their names and color. A panoramic view of Ngugi's book, spanning fiction, memoir, essay, and children's literature, offers a testament to a life devoted to truth-telling and cultural preservation. Ngugi was considered for the Nobel Prize in Literature and was recognized globally, including being shortlisted for Man Booker Prize and winning the Park Keong in Literature Award. His admirers included literary icons like John Updike and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, as well as former U.S. President Barack Obama, who once hailed Ngugi's ability to show how the transformative events of history weigh on individual lives and relationships. Having survived assassination attempts and government persecution during Moi regime, Ngugi never wavered in his mission to decolonize the African mind. His legacy lives on, not only his extensive body of work, but in the cultural and intellectual awakening he helped inspire. Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o survived by 9 children. So, that is the brief history or story of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. So if you love to, hear more from him, I think you better go and get some of these books I mentioned up here so that you can read them. Get acquainted with the work. Very, very important. And here is a quick comment from Dele Momodu. My heart bleeds for Ngugi wa Thiong'o, one of the greatest African writers of the 21st centuries. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, formerly known as James Ngugi, has passed on to highest glory. As a novelist, for me, he comes only after Chinua Achebe, and as an essayist, only after Wole Soyinka. He was never famous as a playwright or poet. I first encountered him through his monumental novel, Weep Not Child. While in school in Nigeria, it was such a gripping story of a young boy, Njoroge, who knew that for him education would be fulfillment of brighter future. This fictional character ignited a passion for knowledge in me and inspired me so much to stay focused in life. I read about Mau Mau's struggle. I later read his other extraordinary stories, The River Between, A Grain of Wheat, Petals of Blood, and mind-blowing collection of essays, Homecoming. May his brilliant soul rest in peace. And that is from Dele Momodu, Otuba Dele Momodu in Nigeria. So this is Chukitable Media. If you have encountered Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, please put your comment in the comment section and let me know what you feel about him. And if you need to write something about him also. See you next time and bye-bye for now. Adieu. Mr. Ngugi wa Thiong'o.